And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, August 4th, 2025, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinematser's Reviews. Exciting week. We are going to be reviewing The Naked Gun, the newest movie in the Naked Gun franchise, as well as Together, the new neon horror movie. I say we jump right in, starting with our first review of the night, that being, if I can just get my banners ready, The Naked Gun, directed by Akiva Schaffer. You might be familiar with that name if you were a fan of The Lonely Island. He's one of the members of The Lonely Island, as well as Andy Samberg and Gorma Tacone. But he directed this movie. This is the fourth entry in the Naked Gun franchise, as well as the first entry that does not star the late, great Leslie Nielsen. In this film, Liam Neeson plays Frank Drebin Jr., the son of Leslie Nielsen's character from the original Naked Gun film. He is a member of Police Squad, just like his dad, and he is essentially investigating a case. He is hired by Beth Davenport, played by Pamela Anderson, the wife of someone who just recently died. She hires Frank Drebin to investigate this case. Light on plot, but at the same time, this is a very, very silly comedy. So that is okay. I've seen the original Naked Gun film, and I love that movie. It's one of the funniest movies, as far as I'm concerned, genuinely of all time. I think Leslie Nielsen is giving an all-time comedic performance in that, where he is playing. Leslie Nielsen, to me, was the king of, in a very comedic film, in a very comedic setting, he is the one that is always giving very straight man performances, but doing very silly things that you can't help but laugh at. In 2025, we have been at a very, very dire sense of a dire strait for good comedies in theaters. And I'm just going to come out right on and say it. It is so refreshing to see a movie like this, where you have a studio comedy, not only a studio comedy, but a straight up parody movie for that matter, or maybe not a parody movie, but like a full on spoof movie. It is spoofing like police style movies that is actually funny. I really, really liked The Naked Gun. And I think the best part about it is I just think Akiva Schaffer really captures the dumb and stupid nature of those original films. Those original Naked Gun movies, I think they're probably the most famous for, with their comedic sensibilities. You were getting jokes, like so many jokes thrown at you every second. And this movie has that same joke rate. And I think for the most part, it really, really, the majority of these jokes hit the opening scene. If you've seen the trailers, you're watching this bank get robbed. Frank goes into there disguised as like this little girl. He takes off his mask, he grows, and you have the most over-the-top action scene. You have Frank punching characters, and they just go flying, and they end up falling. He picks up a character, uses their body as a shield. It's very clearly a dummy, and then he throws the dummy at one character, and a bunch of characters fall. If you're into really stupid humor like that, you're going to be in luck. I think this movie really, really works. And I think the reason why that style of humor works in this movie is all the actors and the writers are so committed to making this movie. They play it straight, like they're not winking at the audience in any way. But that only makes the silly nature of this world so effective, and that is what made those original movies so good as well. So it's nice to see that energy carried over into this movie, especially in 2025, where it is so hard to make spoof movies, because it seems like not only do movies like this look often really, really cheap, which this movie doesn't, they're often just making too many wink, wink, nudge, nudge jokes. And I think it's really good that all the actors are so committed to this film. Like there's a scene early on where Frank enters Police Squad, and this character's getting their mugshot. You have like this professional photographer like clicking their camera like this. When Frank first investigates the murder he's hired to do. It looks like the victim essentially died by crashing their car, and one of the cops asks Frank, they're like, drunk, and Frank just says, just a little, just to keep me awake. And just humor like that really makes the movie work. I don't want to spoil the best jokes in the movie because a comedy like this, you're going in there to see the laughs and be surprised. But yeah, I think this movie does a great job of capturing that energy of those original films. Liam Neeson is so good as Frank Drebin Jr. He's kind of doing a similar thing that Leslie Nielsen did, but also making it his own. He is kind of playing the characters that he's been known for playing in the past like 20 years with Taken, where he's playing this mean gruff like hard as nails cop. But he's just playing in a much more like silly world where everything just seems so heightened. And he narrates a lot of this movie like you will see in like classic cop shows where you'll have like these hardened detectives like giving like these really gruff narrations, and they make him say the most outlandish things, and he sells it so hard. Yeah, I think a major part of the reason why this movie works is because Liam Neeson just seemed down to do anything in this film, and his comedic timing and taking these things that he's been known for being an action star for the past 2 decades and translating into comedy, it worked really well for me here. The plot is fun enough. Like I said, it is very bare bones. I don't think anyone's gonna have any tough time figuring out who the villain of this film is. Second they show up, you're like, okay, they're gonna be the villain, and then like 5 minutes later, they're revealed to be the villain. Even though characters don't know, it's like I don't really care about that in a movie like this. It follows typical plot points in genres like this. Doesn't really bother me because the plot is so clearly not the focus of this film. I will say something that I was just a little taken aback by. I don't want to say which one, but the main villain of this film, their like evil plan, essentially rips off the plot to a 2010s comic book film. I won't say which one it is, but I was kind of expecting like someone to mention that, especially because it's not like an obscure comic book movie. It is a fairly popular one. But the second the villain explained their plot, I was just sitting in the theater like, wait, so it's just like this movie? And I was expecting a joke like that. Never came up. Again, not a deal breaker, just something I did find just kind of surprising there. Something I really loved about this movie that I touched on. It actually looks like it has a decent budget to it, and not everything looks fake. The reason why I really don't like a lot of modern day comedies is because everything looks like it's shot on a movie set. Just so much green screen. There is never like a crowd to be seen in this in these movies. Like every time I watch a comedy more than any other genre, I feel so taken out because it looks so manufactured and so overproduced. This movie actually does look look like they did go on location to capture their scenes, or at the very least they had the budget and they had the integrity to make those scenes look realistic. Like when our characters are at a bar, it actually looks like we're at a bar. When our characters are at a sporting arena, it actually looks like we're at a sporting arena. When our characters are driving a car, it actually looks like they're driving a car. It doesn't look like too many shortcuts were taken, or at the very least, if they were hidden in a way that movies used to hide, but for some reason in like the past like 10 years, filmmakers have gotten like really lazy at that, or just producers have gotten really bad about just like cutting budgets. It is funny that this of all movies is the one where I was like, wow, the production is actually really solid here, because like if there is a film that could probably get away with it, it is a movie like this that is taking so many like shortcuts to spearhead and show that like, hey, we are making a movie like this. But yeah, no, I did think the movie did look really nice. Obviously, with this film coming out in 2025, I don't want to tackle this too much, but I did think it was important to say. There are jokes made about the police, but they don't portray them as, but they don't make them feel like incompetent per se. They just portray a lot of the cops as just being like really silly and just really like, and just like kind of foolish at the end of the day. But that is what ends up helping them solve the case, and I think it helps. This is so clearly like just such like a heightened world that we are living in that I think that's just what helps make it funny. When it comes to the other supporting cast members, Pamela Anderson is good as Beth Davenport. She has some very funny scenes. Movie has some other supporting performances. None of them stand out too much. Like I thought Danny Houston was good, not great. Paul Walter Hauser plays Frank's partner. He's solid in the movie. Not like amazing. Kevin Durand is in this. CCH Pounder is in this. They're all good. They don't steal the spotlight from Frank Drebin in any way. So if you go into this like wanting like a big ensemble comedy like this, it really is mainly like a Liam Neeson starring vehicle, and he is the one getting the most laughs, as well as Pamela Anderson as well. But yeah, if I were to say maybe there's like one complaint, I did wish there was maybe like a few more scenes with some of the other supporting cast members, because the movie does have a really good supporting cast. Like I said, they just aren't given like a ton of jokes like Neeson is obviously given. And yeah, the last thing I wanted to say about this movie is the 85-minute runtime absolutely works in this movie's favor. There is not any fat on the plot of this movie. We are just going from joke to joke to joke, scene to scene. You never really feel like the characters are like meandering in a way, which works because the plot is so bare bones that I had no complaints when the conflict of the film is resolved towards the end. There's not like this big like resolution scene. It just sort of ends and just goes to the credits, which I had no complaints about. Yeah, this movie just really felt like it was concerned about just like, we want to make a really funny movie that audiences can laugh at, and we're not trying to go beyond what we're trying to do. And I think that absolutely worked in the film's favor. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to give it a very good 8 out of 10 videotapes. This is one of the funnier movies I've seen in a long time, especially from the studio comedy, a studio comedy angle. It doesn't feel like it's elevated in a way like a lot of other comedies have felt, recently, where they're trying to tackle like big ideas. It's just like, hey, let's just make a stupid, fun movie that audiences can love. And I think I think the majority of the jokes hit, which is the number one best thing you can say about a comedy is, does it make you laugh? And this one really did make me laugh. So The Naked Gun, if you can, I really want people to go see this in theaters, because I like it when we do get comedies on the big screen, especially in like a big crowd, because like having that laughter just sort of like can envelop a room in a way, and it really made a lot of these scenes funny. But yeah, I say we jump right into the second review of the night. That being Together, directed by Michael Shanks. This is a new neon horror movie. It stars real-life couple Dave Franco and Allison Brie. They play a couple that has been dating for about 10 years, from what the movie said. They are not engaged. They're at a weird point in their relationship where they're just sort of like, do we still love each other? Tim is an aspiring musician, and he is putting his career slightly on hold so that way he can support his girlfriend, Millie, and they end up moving upstate so that way she can take a teaching job. But one night while hiking, they end up finding a little cave and end up getting stuck in there for a night. And then slowly after that night, they start realizing that something might be bringing them together in a really weird way. I'll just get into this. I enjoyed this film. The best thing and probably the most striking thing I can say about this movie is body horror is back in a really disturbing way. After seeing The Substance last year, I was like, are we going to see more mainstream horror movies that are just giving us like these really like grotesque images? And it's so funny looking at the body horror in this movie. I don't think most people will find it as disturbing as The Substance. Like The Substance gives a lot of like grotesque like makeup images, but I think the reason why the horror in this movie is so effective is because it handles a lot of like bones and like sticky stuff, and just makes you feel like gross and like the characters are really hurting. Like if you've seen the trailer, you know there are scenes where the characters' hands will literally like go into each other's skins and you feel the bones attaching. And anytime in a movie where you hear like bones start cracking, I kind of wince a little. but the body horror is really, really well done here. I think the movie does a great job at capturing a real life couple that clearly do love each other, but they are very much struggling in their relationship. Tim, we first open on Tim. He is very clearly like he wants to support his girlfriend, but at the same time, he is an artist and he wants to be out there performing. And every time he talks with his friends, you clearly tell that's truly what he loves, but he doesn't want to leave his girlfriend because he does love her, he does care for her, but he just doesn't have like this great way of presenting that. And Millie is someone that you can clearly tell is just sort of struggling because she feels like she's being ignored in this relationship. She wants to be there for her partner professionally. At the same time, she's just also sort of having the fear that a lot of people in relationships have, where they're just like, it's been 10 years you've been trying to pursue this. Do you really want to keep pursuing this? So I do think we open up on this couple that is like realistically in a really that is struggling in a really realistic way, which is also probably helped by the fact that the two actors that are in the movie are a couple, and I think it just helps that they're also both giving very good performances. This is Tim is a character that could be played as very, very unlikable, and I think Dave Franco delves a little bit into that. There are scenes where you are just sort of like pulling out your hair, like, buddy, what are you doing? He does a great job playing the scenes where he is possessed, where like Dave Franco just does a great job of like taking all that energy that he's known for and just playing dead at points. But I think Alison Brie is absolutely the star of this film because she is the one throughout the majority of the film where we're just sort of like kind of seeing it through her eyes, like what is going on? Are we really cursed? What are we supposed to be doing? And Alison Brie can both plays joy and just like loving, caring, nurturing emotions really well, which we see here. And then when things start going down, she is just in like full on panic mode, full on like, how can we get out of this? Both performers are really, really great in the film. Yeah, like I said, the themes of a couple being on shaky grounds in a relationship, they're very, very obvious, but I think they are handled well. Again, I do think this couple is portrayed in a very realistic way, in a very like non-cartoonish way, where I'm not like, man, this couple is in a rocky place, but I'm not like, how did they last even this long? No, you're like, okay, I see where this is a rough patch in the relationship. But at the same time, you understand why they are still together, and maybe there is a way that they can work through this. I will say it is very hard not to see the final twist of the film coming. There is a reveal that happens towards the third act when you finally get what's going on. I had realized what was going on maybe like 30 minutes beforehand. I realized it fairly quickly. I don't think the movie does a great job of hiding that. So I will say that was a little bit of a disappointment. Sorry. Have the hiccups there. The other major issue I had with the movie, the film ends on a joke that I just don't think kept with the tone of the film. It ended in a very like horror comedy-esque way. And this movie is not a horror comedy much throughout the film. There are like slightly jokey moments, but I think the movie does a great job at really making you show just how gross this film is and how like anxiety ridden these characters are towards the end, where they're just like, oh, what is going on? How are we both going to get out of this situation alive? And I just thought the ending tone was just a little bit strange. I like what happens before that very well, but like the last moment of the film is so clearly like the filmmaker Michael Shakes was just like, oh, did I get you? Did I get you? And I was like, okay, kind of ruined it for me there. Not like ruined it, like ruined it, but just sort of like killed the tone for me. I will say the movie does have some jump scares that I actually do think are very, very effective. The visuals of this movie, like I said, are very haunting, and it does what good jump scares do well, where it doesn't try to build up to the jump scares. It genuinely gets you where when you're least expecting it, and it might do it like maybe like 2 to 3 times in the movie. And throughout the majority of the film, it's really just trying to scare you with just really disturbing visuals and atmosphere and panicky moments. And I think that just helps create a better horror movie. So much better than just adding in a million jump scares, because then when you do have your small amount of jump scares, those are handled actually very, very well. So yeah, if I were to review this, give this movie a score of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to give it a good, slightly lower than Naked Gun, 7.5 out of 10. Again, there are some qualms I have with the film, but for the most part, I think this is a very effective, very disturbing film. A really great look at a couple that is trying to figure out how their relationship is going to survive. Can it survive with where they want to go? And also manages to create a really good horror movie around that. If you're a big horror fan, I would recommend going to see this movie. If not, if you're not a body horror fan, stay away from this movie, please. But yeah, overall together does get a recommendation from me. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing Weapons, Zach Crager's new movie, as well as one other film. I'm going to have to look at the schedule, but Weapons is going to be the big movie I'm going to be seeing this next week. Thank you all for joining, and remember, as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.